What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. In this video we have some awesome updates for Metroid Prime 4 that you don't want to miss, including possible direct proof that Switch 2 will not only be getting an enhanced version of Metroid Prime 4, but also that the Switch 2 version might in fact be using ray tracing along with other awesome techniques. We have all the real evidence ready to show, of course, but before we get started, I just want to thank you all for your support on this channel, and if you enjoy this content, the best way you can help is to simply hit the like button and leave me a comment for discussion. Now, as you may recall, at the start of 2024, we revealed on this channel for the first time anywhere on YouTube or the internet that Retro Studios was working with a third-party development studio to assist in creating a debut trailer for Metroid Prime 4, which for a AAA game can take months and months to make and edit to be just right to show. And shortly after this, the information was removed, but we were able to still find it with the Wayback Machine and prove it was legit, keeping all the screen caps, and sure enough, some months later, we did get that debut trailer for Metroid Prime 4 with gameplay, and as you no doubt probably agree, it was amazing and definitely worth the wait. Now, during that reveal trailer though, Nintendo confirmed that Metroid Prime 4 would be released sometime in 2025 with no month of the year given, which since that time has led many people, including myself, to basically put two and two together that this would lead to the inevitable Switch 2 port of Metroid Prime 4 to possibly be either a launch day game for the console or released sometime during the launch year of Switch 2. And it should be pointed out though that even before that reveal trailer for Metroid Prime 4, we've been talking about a Switch 2 port for a few years now, basically due to the evidence of various graphical techniques being used by Retro Studios during that time in development that are simply not prevalent on the current Switch hardware, and with the current Switch 1, which is about to be replaced with the Nintendo Switch 2, and now with various reports and strong rumors of Switch 2 about to be revealed as soon as this month in September, the chances of a Switch 2 enhanced version of Metroid Prime 4 are now through the roof, and in fact, it's looking very likely. Over the last few months since Metroid Prime 4 has been revealed, after the shock wore off and people stopped questioning if this was actually running on Switch 1 hardware in the trailer, and yes it was of course, people have now been wondering what graphical upgrades a Switch 2 port could have, especially with how great it is already looking. And back then in August, I discussed this in a podcast, and besides a higher rendering resolution, I brought up that the most noticeable change for gaming graphics in the last 4 years or so has been the lighting techniques used in current gen gaming on PS5 and Xbox Series X and PC, with ray tracing and various other elements like advanced screen space reflections, ambient occlusion, and global illumination. Lighting has become a key focus on what makes current gen gaming stand out as looking more noticeably upgraded from the PS4 generation. Now, many people have gone on record, including myself, in saying that things like ray tracing really are not needed, quote unquote, to make a game look great. And a lot of the time, ray tracing is used to simply give the most accurate reflections in a game or to give lighting a more realistic look versus something that needs to be pre-calculated or pre-baked, which is true, but no doubt we've seen plenty of examples of games looking fantastic without any ray tracing used at all. Not to mention engines like Unreal Engine 5 using software-based Lumen for lighting and reflections, which uses its own form of ray tracing, but in UE5 it's less demanding than using full ray tracing outside of what the engine provides, like path tracing for example in games like Black Myth Wukong. You can see the difference, but the game still looks amazing with software-based Lumen reflections turned on versus full ray tracing. So with Retro Studios, they are a self-proclaimed state-of-the-art game development studio working in conjunction with Nintendo to bring award-winning games to Nintendo's cutting-edge next-generation platforms. That's what they say on their own job postings. And they have always been known for pushing the best possible graphics on Nintendo's consoles, including having them all run at 60 frames per second. In fact, I don't think there is any Retro Studios game that has been released that does not target 60 frames per second on Nintendo's mainline home consoles. So with Metroid Prime 4, yes, it would be just fine if Retro Studios simply released a 4K or 1440p 60 frames per second port of Metroid Prime 4 for Switch 2 and didn't actually upgrade any of the visuals. I'm sure it will still look fantastic even like that, and while there have been strong indications that Switch 2 will have backwards compatibility for Switch 1 games, that doesn't mean that we wouldn't still still have a standalone port made just for Switch 2 for Metroid Prime 4. They probably will have both options available for when the game does launch. Like if you just own a Switch 1 and you buy Metroid Prime 4, the game will still work on Switch 2 if you get a Switch 2 later. And they might offer an upgrade path for the Switch 2 version of Metroid Prime 4 for an additional cost of $10, like how Sony does it for PS4 and PS5. Or if you were someone just waiting to buy Metroid Prime 4 for Switch 2 only, Nintendo would also have the Switch 2 version of Metroid Prime 4 for sale, likely for $69.99 as a standalone release for that console. Either way though, I can see all variants of Prime 4 working out well for Switch 1 and Switch 2. Now, here we get to the proof that Metroid Prime 4 may not only be getting a nicely enhanced Switch 2 port, but also that Retro Studios could be using advanced lighting effects such as ray tracing and more for this version of the game. Retro Studios is now confirmed to be hiring a lighting artist for a short-term contract position, and there are some major key developer skills with them asking for experience using photorealistic renderers for lighting that include programs such as Arnold, RenderMan, V-Ray, Octane, and Mitsuba. And this developer will be working on real-time lighting during gameplay, post-processing effects, and even more for cinematics. The big key though about these programs listed is that all of them, every single one of these programs, mind you, all of them are used in game development for ray tracing. Yes, you heard that correctly. All of those programs are used for real-time ray tracing during game development. And on top of that, each one of those programs, V-Ray, Arnold, RenderMan, etc., all require, I'm gonna repeat that, they require an Nvidia-based GPU to be used in development. Only the program named Octane is compatible with an AMD GPU, but there's an asterisk with that. It is only compatible with an AMD GPU if it's used on Mac OS. Otherwise, for the Windows version, it also requires an Nvidia RTX GPU. So wow, I'm actually really happy that this is being discovered right now before the Switch 2 is revealed, since it really nails down, seemingly, mind you, since, you know, we can't really confirm anything here 100% because only Nintendo and Metro Studios can do that, but it really does point to Switch 2 using an Nvidia RTX level GPU powering the console. So based on the real information we have shown here, we simply have to call it like we see it, right? Now, personally, as I've said numerous times, the main thing I just want from Switch 2 is games that run great and look great. The overall spec numbers are probably going to look on paper something like an Xbox Series S while docked, is my guess. But the key advantage of Switch 2 was always going to be what its GPU would be versus the other consoles. And as much as I've liked AMD over the years, their GPUs have really been lackluster since the introduction of RDNA 2 back in the 2019 range. It's really been AMD's CPUs that I'm a big fan of these days, but in regards to ray tracing in Metroid Prime 4, it would seem like Retro Studios will be using some lighting effects that could be ray traced for this game. Now, to what extent, we really don't know, but we have direct proof here with this help from a short-term contract lighting artist to implement real-time lighting with programs that specialize in ray tracing. So I could see some ray traced reflections or ray traced shadows or ray traced global illumination. But even for first party games on Switch 2, I want to make it clear that I wouldn't be expecting too many of these first party games to use the entire gambit, so to speak, of ray tracing effects. More so, I'd expect one or two types of ray tracing to be used, and I've talked about this in the past as well, but in terms of overall usage of ray tracing for Switch 2, I don't think people should be expecting much from the console, especially from third-party AAA ports. More so, I think where ray tracing will be used is in Nintendo's first-party games and games from Metro Studios, where they can truly focus on squeezing the best graphics and performance out of the Switch 2, whereas third-party developers will be more focused on getting their games ported over with the least amount of cost to them. So this is why games like Cyberpunk 2077 on Switch 2, while likely to be ported, I don't personally expect any ray tracing at all to be used on that port if and when it does happen. More so, I'd expect them to hit a good frame rate and good image quality with DLSS over using anything RT based. Now, remember though, Nintendo is ultimately going to be the ones that sell people to buy a Switch too, right? And its first party software always does that. So for anything using advanced techniques like ray tracing, even if it's only for something like some reflections here or there or better shadows, it would still fall on the hands of Nintendo's core first party teams to make the best usage of that on Switch 2. And besides a new Mario, of course, what better game would there be in terms of impressive modern tech to sell someone on Switch 2 than have it be Metroid Prime 4. Alright guys, that's going to do it for this one. Please hit the like button and leave me a comment if you enjoyed it, and I'll talk to you very soon in the next video. Have a great day.